Chin to lead us in prayer.
Let us assume a posture of prayer. Almighty and gracious Father, as we gather here to deliberate the business of this country, we grant that you imbue us with the knowledge, skills, and ability, so that whatever we do and whatever we say may be to the interest of your will. These are the mercies we pray in your precious name. Amen.
Thanks very much, Member Chin. Just want to ask if there's any apologies from the floor. I have apologies for Member Henry and Member Davis. Is there any other apologies?
We can put Member Miller. He'll be running late if that's the case.
And also for Member Miller, who will be late. Any other apologies? There be no other apologies. I move into item 4. Just want to welcome members again and the team from the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce to the meeting of the Regulations Committee. I'll just move to item 5, which is the confirmation of the minutes of our last meeting held on February 18, 2025.
Next one, left.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning. Morning, everyone. May I suggest that in the interest of time and considering that we're a little late, that we suspend the minutes and go right to the matter at hand, and afterwards we can come back. Yeah.
Okay, so we could defer it to the end of the meeting. Members, we all agree? Okay. All right, so we move straight into the matters for discussion, and today we are here to discuss the Segregated Account Companies Form Regulation 2025. But before we go into the discussion, I just ask the members from the ministry to introduce themselves.
Good morning. My name is Jamaica Allen from the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce.
Good morning. My name is Ricky Davis. I'm the acting CEO for the Jamaica International Financial Services Authority.
That's it. All right, thank you for your presence here today. We also welcome the team from the Parliamentary Council and other members of staff present at the meeting. So we'll move straight into the discussion. This regulation may be cited as the Segregated Accounts Companies Form Regulation 2025. And I just go through the items here. These regulations, an application to be registered as a segregated accounts company or an incorporated segregated accounts company in accordance with Section 4 of the Act shall be in the form set out as Form SACI in the schedule, and we have a copy of the form here. This meeting is to look at the the foreman to decide whether we have any objection. So I just open the floor for our members. Or if maybe I would ask the ministry if there's any introductory comments that you want to make.
Good morning again, members. So the Segregated Accounts Companies Act, under which these regulations were promulgated, it was enacted on November 21, 2024, and brought into operation on January 20, 2025. And this act seeks to provide for the registration and operation of companies that operate segregated accounts or incorporated segregated accounts. And a segregated accounts company is a company registered under the Companies Act, which comprises of one or more segregated accounts. A segregated account is a distinct account which separates its assets and liabilities from the assets and liabilities of other accounts. Now, an incorporated segregated accounts company, likewise, is a company registered under the Companies Act, and it also has distinct segregated accounts which separates the assets and liabilities from others, but in this case, each account has separate legal personality. So a segregated account allows for flexibility, where a company wishes to engage in a variety of activities to prevent the company from having to incorporate a new company for each venture. This may be particularly attractive for companies which manage separate investments or other portfolios. Further, it prevents winding up procedures for the entire company at the termination of each portfolio. Instead, it is now an administrative procedure. Section 48 of the Act empowers the minister to make regulations, and such regulations are subject to negative resolution. As such, the Segregated Accounts Companies Forms Regulations 2025 was promulgated on February 4, 2025, to provide the requisite forms for an application for registration as a segregated or incorporated segregated accounts company, so pursuant to Section 4, and for any objections to such registration pursuant to Section 6 of the Act. And so I can take you through the regulations clause by clause. So Regulation 1 provides for the citation, which cites the regulations as the Segregated Accounts Companies Forms Regulations 2025. Regulation 2 prescribes the application form that you would use to register a segregated accounts company or an incorporated segregated accounts company pursuant to Section 4, and prescribes the form as Form SAC1 in the schedule. And Regulation 3 provides for the form to be used if an account holder or a creditor wishes to object to the proposed registration of a company as a segregated accounts company pursuant to Section 6, and sets this form out as Form SAC2. And the schedule provides both forms.
Chair, I understand the objectives of the Act and the regulation. In its utilization, though, I want to ask whether, so this relates only to incorporated company. What about partnerships and other forms, other vehicle for investment? How are those affected or likely to be affected by the Act and the regulations?
Thank you, Committee Member, for your question. It's a separate piece of legislation, and as such, it's treated by itself. Now, we could get very granular to say, for example, that a partnership could be a member, for example, of a segregated accounts company, but it exists by itself and has no direct bearing on the rights, obligations, or anything else that would occur with partnerships.
So, my understanding, and I'm talking about operationally now, it is open for a partnership, you say, because we talk about a segregated account and an incorporated segregated account. The partnership, you say, can be a member of the corporation, and as such, be a member of that segregated account. But I accept that the partnership arrangement is a separate piece of legislation. I'm just talking about how operationally this infrastructure, this vehicle that is created, is created for the purpose of ease of business. And so I would imagine persons would be wanting to understand, certainly I do, want to understand how and in different ways that can be utilized, the segregated accounts, and by whom.
I can give perhaps by way of examples,
Sure.
if that would serve you better. So I'll use an example of a company that develops real estate. They may have several projects that they're doing, several different places, and as such, it is intended, or it is quite possible, for them to have a segregated accounts company where each project is a segregated account. And so its assets and liabilities remain in that account, and however well or not well it may do, as the case may be, will not affect the others. So that's one example that I would give of how it may be. Now, in terms of who owns or has rights or interest to each segregated account, it could be, so that's in the one instance where you're doing development. Let us say in the instance perhaps where you're using it for the purpose of managing investments. So each segregated account may either segregate it by class of assets, or you may segregate it by client. And I'm suggesting that in each case, a partnership, for whatever reason, could very well be a client and have their own segregated account.
But the management, this really focuses on the management of the accounts, and that has to be an incorporated
right.
entity.
Understood. So in respect of each segregated account, so consider it this way: you have a segregated accounts company, which, let's call it, for lack of a better word, as an umbrella, and within that umbrella you will have the segregated accounts. The management of the segregated accounts company itself is what it is, constructed out, is board of directors, etc. Now, with each segregated account is subject to a mandate, and that mandate in effect represents the relationship between the management of that account and the persons or members who have interest in that account. And it will set out, this is how it is to be managed, these are the powers, as the case may be, and that will deal with how each segregated account is managed.
So GIFSA, is GIFSA that you are the CEO of, right?
Acting, yes, sir.
Acting CEO.
Yes, sir.
Does this complete the suite of legislation that GIFSA required? There's a range of legislation, I recall, with a number of which have been done. Where are we in that process of really enabling GIFSA to begin its operation fully?
We have a few other pieces to come. So we have the Limited Liabilities Companies Act, which is currently being reviewed by the chambers, and thereafter hopefully we'll be able to proceed and advance it to the Legislation Committee. We also have the Partnership Limited Amendment Act and the Partnership General Amendment Act. Both were previously passed, but they were not brought into operation. And then, now currently Jamaica being reviewed by the FATF, we had to incorporate provisions to satisfy the FATF recommendations, which is the object of these amendments. Currently, they have been reviewed by the chambers. We are now incorporating their comments, and we shall return it to the chambers, and hopefully thereafter we'll be able to advance them to the legislation committee. And the accompanying regulations for all pieces that I just mentioned as well are also in train.
So, go ahead.
And so where that is an update on where the legislation is, in practical terms, the only outstanding piece of legislation is the LLC.
But I just heard that FATF has commented and that requires some further amendments. So you'd have to come back to the Parliament for that amendment.
That is correct. But it has been passed. So the partnership, both general and limited, were passed in 2017.
No, I'm aware. I'm asking, and I got a response that there are amendments that FATF is requiring, and that those amendments are going through the process. So you'd have to come back to this House for the amendment to be done. What of the regulations? Did you develop regulations for those as well? And those were brought here and passed?
Yes, we are also working on the regulations. So the regulations for the Limited Liability Companies Act, that regulations has been reviewed by the Attorney General Chambers, and we recently received comments. So we're currently incorporating those comments so it will be able to move along with the Act when the Act is passed. And we are also working on the regulations at the same time with the Act for the partnership legislation. So they're both being reviewed by the AG at the same time. So we're moving them together.
But until then, including with the passage of this regulation, the GIFSA really is operating suboptimally. Is it able to go out and market its suite of products? What is GIFSA doing at this point?
Not as a full suite, but we have been able to go out and start and market those that we have. For example, the Trust Act, which is already just passed in 2019, that can be utilized, and there are various ways in which it can be utilized, and there are various possibilities for its use, notwithstanding. So to answer your question, two-part, there is a suite of legislation, and unless we have the full suite, it would be, as it were, suboptimal. But however, there are some that have been passed that we are able to bring to market, as it were.
FATF remains the supervising entity for JSIF's operation.
Well, there is a CFATF, which is the Caribbean version, which is the one that
direct.
Yes,
direct.
And which ultimately goes up to FATF. So yes, so all of that has to be in conjunction with each other.
Can I just comment on the form? So I'm looking at the form and I see I'm looking at SAC 1 and number 5, address of the registered office of the company. So you have post office on it. I don't see any email address. In today's world, is that sufficient? What you have there, is that a sufficient requirement, or what about the electronic? This doesn't admit of digital operation, so you don't, an email address, for example, wouldn't be a relevant matter. So post office. People still use post office, by the way?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. For what purposes? Anyway, but my point is, it may be necessary, but is this sufficient?
I think
Operationally, because this regulation is the operational piece.
for this purpose, as it speaks about registered office, that has to be brick and mortar in some respect. And
So it doesn't admit of digital operations?
it doesn't exclude it, specifically speaking to this. It speaks about a registered office. So where that is concerned, an email address would not be considered as a registered office. It may be a means by which you may serve, or it may be a means by which you can communicate. But in terms of a registered office, an email address may not specifically be required here. However, when it comes to, let's say, register of members, register of directors, that kind of information would be captured.
So you're required to have a physical, apart from a post office box, you have to have a physical place, right?
Because the purpose behind this is, one of the main purposes behind this is service of process. So you have to have somewhere to which you can direct it, which the law will recognize as being proper service.
So the email address is not necessary for this particular piece, right?
Correct, yes.
And you're satisfied that all the information that you'll need for the establishment of operation and objection to are captured in these two forms?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just to add to what Member Hilton just said a while ago, just was a question. And I understand his probity in terms of, in respect to the email. But just to ask, what would it cost to have that as an additional item?
I don't think there'll be a cost to having it. I was really answering the question.
No, I'm just saying,
Yes.
Could it be considered, let me put it that way, going forward?
Practically speaking, I don't see that it is a hindrance necessarily. While saying that, I'll also say that it's not absolutely necessary at this point for this document, because all that other information is held at the company's office for the register of beneficial owners, etc., etc.
Okay. Great. Observation, comments from, okay. Member Chin.
All right. At what point a company is required to fill out this form?
This is required only when the company is seeking a status as a segregated accounts company.
All right, so that makes question 7 redundant. That makes question 7 redundant.
No, it doesn't. It offers an option. So you can register it as a segregated accounts company or an incorporated segregated accounts company.
So do you intend to operate a segregated or incorporated? So at what point do you say that this form is required? When you intend to?
When you intend to have the company incorporated either as a segregated accounts company, or an incorporated segregated accounts company.
Follow up. Let me help you something. There's a fine line here. So, if you're a pre-existing company, you're operating today, and with the passage of this legislation, you decide that you want to segregate the accounts. There's no need for you to. You then are not really incorporating the account. You're establishing the account within an operating entity. Or you can set out from the beginning, from tomorrow, let's say, or next week. You can decide, we're establishing a company, a management company that manages these accounts. And we're going to set out from ab initio, from the beginning, as an incorporated account. So you incorporate that entity at that stage. So isn't it two different sets of information required? One where you have an established entity and you're operating and you want to do segregated accounts, and one where you're deciding ab initio that you're going to start a management company with segregated account. How practically do you envisage this? Because what we're talking about is the operation. People are going to find, and these are the practical questions people are going to ask. If I'm operating a company, I want to just shift focus by creating these accounts. Or should I be starting a new company that does these segregated accounts? What are these, isn't it requiring two different sets of information? Or some overlap but different information? For example, we're just talking a telephone number. If you're doing if you're pre-existing company, then you'd have all that information at company's office. But if you're just starting out, then you're registering as an incorporated account. You'll need a new set of information, which presumably would require perhaps even a telephone number.
I think I understand what members are saying. So a predicate for you to be able to have a segregated accounts company is that the company must be incorporated as, the company will be incorporated as a company under the Companies Act. And as such, all the requirements of the Companies Act comes into play. So that's in the first instance. In the second instance, let us take the example that you're pre-existing and you want to become a segregated accounts company, which, by the way, once you get the designation as a segregated accounts company, you are entitled to use a term SAC as a part of the name.
Okay. Entitled or required?
Required. Yeah. Once you are. Thank you for that very important distinction. And so, having made that election to use an existing company to seek to have its status changed to that of a segregated accounts company, you again have an election. The election is you can be a segregated accounts company or you can be an incorporated segregated accounts company. So there are two possibilities under that. And I think Ms. Allen...
What's the fine difference? Because there is a difference.
There is a difference, yes. So the incorporated segregated accounts company allows for each of those incorporated segregated accounts to hold asset in its own name. Whereas with a segregated accounts company, it's holding the asset, but not in its own name.
The account.
Yes, right.
Okay. Okay.
Members, any further observation? Okay. Any objection? Okay. There'll be no objection, so Member Hilton, were you saying something?
No, I was just wishing the entity well. There's been a while. And really, if we have to make up our minds if we are really going full force, and we've done so much work and invested time and effort into it. We really now need to bring to bear whatever remaining pieces of legislation, regulations that are needed to really enable the entity to move forward and to decide if it's fish or fowl. The time come, really.
Thank you very much, members. We just want to confirm that there is no objection, so
Remember, we're trying to get a committee.
any further comments, members?
Put it on the
All right. So there's no objection, so the committee will now move to formalize this report for the sitting. I want to take this opportunity to thank the team from the Ministry of Investment, Industry and Commerce for your presence here today and for your presentation. Member? Yes, and all the other officers who would have participated. I want to thank you again, and we look forward to the continued work as we seek to provide the necessary service for all Jamaicans. Thank you again.
There's one question. Chairman, when you look at SAC 2, this form is used after the segregated account or the incorporated segregated account is incorporated. It is used after, where somebody can object to it after it's incorporated.
It's not after, it's after they have made an application. So it's within a certain time frame. I believe it's 21 days after the application for registration as a segregated accounts company, that persons are given an opportunity to object.
So myself as a creditor in this company, how will I know that an application
Notice is supposed to be served under Section 5 of the Act to all known creditors
all
upon
creditors
application.
will be notified?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And is that objection as to the creditor's particular account being segregated, or objection to the company, the entity being, what are they objecting to?
And the objection may be varied. It is not limited to this or that. There may be other scenarios or other situations that, say, for example, there's an existing shareholders agreement or something of the sort. So the objection is not...
It's wide ranging.
Yes, it is. Of course, they have to state the nature of the
Stipulate.
yes.
But the reasons for objection is stated. Okay, all right. I'm good, Chairman.
Good. Okay, so I want to thank you again. And as I've said before, we look forward to the continued working together. So you may be excused at this time. Okay.
So, your mic. ma'am.
Right, so by way of update, the parliamentary team, they were suggesting that perhaps the email could be added to paragraph 6 in the form SAC 1, right? They could put the email address there and perhaps the representative, the title of the representative, because currently we just have name. And whereas for paragraph 5, it's the registered office address that's on the COJ's register. For 6, it is for the segregated accounts representative. So they were suggesting that we could add it. However, we're saying since it's not necessarily, it's administrative and the information could be sought outside of the absence of the form and that it could cause delay in the operation of the regulations, they had considered that it is fine to proceed as is. Subject to the committee.
Yes.
I think in particular, even if the email is optional, you want to consider that not critical. I think the capacity of the person, the representative capacity, is important. I think you want to say in what capacity is the representative, who is applying for and in what capacity. Isn't that one of the issues that was canvassed among yourselves? And if that's so, then I believe, first of all, I just think it looked modern to have an email address. Yeah? A post office address by itself in today's world ignore certain realities, which is a digital economy that operates in parallel. Right? So make the form look modern, and like we are with it in this world. That's one. Two, I certainly think that the capacity of the person applying, some representative capacity should be indicated on the form. Right? I think those two, I still think the email is not necessary, but I think it's helpful. In any event, email addresses change, and I may prefer to use a particular address that is more relevant to this application for this status. So they could restate the one on the company's office, or they could use a new one.
Through your chair. So I think I take the points that have been made, and because this comes by way of a negative resolution, I really, the question therefore is there an objection?
So, members,
No, I wouldn't state it in, I understand the point you make, but I wouldn't state it in the terms that I'm objecting. I'm stating more in the term that this would be preferred, because I don't think I don't think it renders the form unusable or even insufficient. I just think that that kind of information is optional and to be preferred.
But remember, if we I think if we go that route, then it will be saying that we are not satisfied with the current structure of the form if we were to use those words. So is either we accept or we object, given the fact that it is for a negative resolution. So I don't know if we could say that we're not objecting, but I'm not sure about that.
In a conversation, they are the ones that have to operate this form. They're seeking certain information, and I'm saying to them, just an observe by way of observation and commentary, not necessarily objecting, because I don't think it render the form inapplicable or in any way disqualify the use. But my thoughts were that it would be helpful to persons and the entity. You know, if they operate the entity and they're saying, well, it doesn't matter to them, you know, that shouldn't be a fight. If it is, for example, that they want to move ahead, now this has been a long time, they want to move ahead and they believe we're going to have an undue delay in this form, right? I wouldn't want to hold them up because I know the process. When they go back through the process, maybe another 6 months before
Right,
they
so
come to, they may want to.
yes, ma'am, and that is the main reason why we would accept.
No, I'm saying that, I mean, it does no violence to me.
Right. So we have agreed to no objection, and therefore I want to thank you again for being here, and you may be excused at this time.
Good morning again. Finally, so throughout our discussions, we remember that our Interpretation Act allows us to make small amendments to the Act without deviating from the content to the form, right? So Section 57, it says, whenever forms are prescribed in any Act, slight deviations therefrom, not affecting the substance or calculated to mislead, shall not invalidate them. So in the administrative forms to be used, we could add the capacity and the email.
Good. All right, thank you very much. All right, members, we have the item that was deferred, which is the confirmation and matters arising from the minutes. So we would take those items at this time.
If it is to be done now, Member Chin was a person that was there, so he would have to move the motion for confirmation.
Yes, so the minutes, I take it that it would have been read, having been circulated. So, is there any matters?
No, confirm first. Member Chin.
So you want to confirm?
Yeah.
Motion for confirmation.
Member Chin.
Member Chin, you represent.
Chairman, the minutes haven't been taken as read. I move that the minutes be confirmed.
And seconded.
I can second. I wasn't here, but I can. I
can
can't
second.
move, but I can second.
Yeah.
Second.
Thank you very much, members. We will now move to item 8, which is any other business. And we have, I want to raise an issue. Our meeting from time to time, we have challenges in
You said matters arising.
item 6. Oh yes, matters arising. Yes.
He's my zone.
Yes. Member Chair.
Yes, I note that the chairman noted the communication that requested the withdrawal of the Rose Need order from consideration following a legal opinion. Or was that obtained?
Yes.
It was?
Hands are not hearing you.
Okay. In the closing remarks, the chairman noted that the communication requested that the withdrawal of the Rose Need order from consideration of this committee following a legal opinion from the Office of the Parliamentary Counsel. And I was asking if that opinion was obtained.
It was communicated.
He is here.
Right.
So it's a communication that we've gotten.
The chairman noted the communication that requested withdrawal of the Rosenet order from consideration by this committee following a legal opinion from the Office of the Parliamentary Counsel regarding the expiration of said order on the 31st of December 2024. Mr. Williams explained that the Office of the Prime Minister, OPM, was collaborating closely with the NHT to determine a new expiration date for the order. Chairman thanked the OPM and NHT and the members. Right, so that would have been
Our last meeting in terms of the Rose Need for
right,
expiration.
and we did.
And so the communication I would have gotten would have been coming from the council, from the
Parliamentary Council.
no, from the Office of the Prime Minister.
Right.
The legal counsel from the Office of the Prime Minister.
Right. So what do you want to? What's the issue you have with
He
the?
just wants to know if we had gotten the opinion. He wants to know if we had gotten the opinion, but what we got was the communication that indicated that there was an opinion.
Oh, right. So we didn't get the opinion, but we got a communication that they had that concern. So we're still awaiting the communication in respect of that.
We will have that communication.
it's not my query, but I would imagine that what the member is seeking is, one, to clarify that an opinion was given, and then to ask where is the matter now? Is it that a new order would be issued and come back to the committee? Okay.
Yes. That's where we're at. Yeah. All right, thank you. Any further?
That's for the minutes. We're looking at the virtual meeting.
Yeah, I'm going to. Right, so, right. All right, so we would move to the issue that I started out with. We have been having challenges with the committee in terms of attendance over time. So I was thinking that maybe members, we could look at making a request for the suspension of standing orders to allow us to have hybrid meetings, virtual hybrid meetings. I don't know if
I mean, to the extent that that applies to most other committees, the other committees that I'm on, we're able to do hybrid, so I don't think there's any particular reason why it shouldn't apply, or couldn't apply to this committee. The Chief Parliament himself.
Based on the standing orders for the House of Representatives, it has to be by way of motion. In the standing orders for the Senate, it is automatic, or on request. But for the House of Representatives, it has to be by way of motion.
For that to be done. So move the motion that.
yeah, and second,
Move it to the House.
No, we'll do it in the house.
well, that in the house.
So we'll carry it to the House.
Yeah, we have agreed, so we do it in the house. Ask.
All right.
I think that's the procedure. Yeah.
So we move it, and we've made a request to them.
Yes.
All right, I want to thank members of the committee and our support staff for their presence at this meeting, and we move to item 9, which is the date of next meeting, which will be decided. Otherwise, I now move for the adjournment. Moved by Member Hilton. Member Chin. Thanks again for your presence here this morning. This meeting now stands adjourned.
Once upon a time in a Caribbean island known for its rich culture, natural beauty, lived a group of people who were buried in piles and piles and more piles of paper. Papers spanning back to the start of time. Then came a bright idea, harnessing technology to work smarter and not harder. The government of Jamaica is improving its operations to serve citizens better. Many services are now available online, and there's more to come. The government of Jamaica, building a better public sector for all.
Most Jamaicans will tell you corruption in politics is deep-rooted, and that's just so it's said, and nothing can do about that. But actually, there is, and another 152 countries are doing it. It's called asset declaration, and it works best where citizens themselves understand it and help to ensure the law is enforced. Corruption happens when public officials abuse their power to benefit themselves, family, or associates. Jamaica's Integrity Commission Act was designed to prevent corruption, and here are 5 things you should know. 1. Under this law, every year MPs and senators must report what they earn, own, and owe, and if they don't, they'll be sanctioned. 2. Their report must include the same kind of information for their wife or husband and children. 3. If they get a gift worth more than $100,000 from anyone who's not family, they must declare it. 4. A summary of the declarations of our Prime Minister and opposition leader must be published where the public can read it. 5. Parliamentarians can now be prosecuted by the Integrity Commission. They can be fined up to $2 million or serve up to 2 years in prison if they don't file their declaration or if they give false information, and $500,000 for not filing on time or ignoring requests for information. Unfortunately, our parliamentarians made changes that prevent the public from knowing when they've broken the law or when they're being investigated. We really need to change that. Visit jampja.org to find out more about the Act and to track if your MP is obeying this law. If they're not, JAMP's MP Tracker will help you write, tweet, or call your MP. Ask them, you submit your declaration yet? The Integrity Commission clear you? Let's help the Parliament stay honest.
A message from the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, funded by the European Union and the Inter-American Development Bank in partnership with the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica.
Do your part to prevent mosquito breeding. Mosquitoes will breed in any container that holds water.
Tightly cover water storage containers such as drums, barrels, buckets, and tanks. If this cannot be done, pour cooking oil on the water surface. Punch holes in all tins, plastics, and beverage boxes to prevent the collection of water before disposal. Cover all tires or fill with dirt to prevent water collection. Scrub all vases once per week to remove mosquito eggs. Use mosquito repellents to protect yourself from mosquito bites. Dispose of garbage properly by placing in plastic bags and securing properly to prevent water collection.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
I wonder who that somebody be. No, sir. Let me look for my glasses. Oh, that somebody look like right, sir. It's Lottie, walk on. Me glad for see you, right? Although things never gone for you, America, me glad to see you there.
Yeah.
Lift your head high.
Yeah.
Stay out of trouble.
Yeah.
And you can have a fresh start back home. All right, Mr. D. Thanks, you hear?
Let's all work together for a fresh start back home.
The following is brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Dengue is ordinarily a mild disease. Persons may get a fever, headache, joint, and muscle pains. The illness is often resolved through rest and adequate hydration along with paracetamol to treat the accompanying fever. However, on occasions, the illness can progress to severe dengue, which can result in organ failure, bleeding, and severe fluid depletion that can lead to shock and even death. Therefore, it is important for persons who are experiencing fever, vomiting, severe abdominal pain, bleeding under the skin, feeling very weak, or getting confused to seek immediate attention. Let us work together to protect ourselves against dengue.
The following is brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
To fight crime and violence in your country, your government has invested over $9.7 billion into national security systems. This includes the construction and renovation of dozens of police stations, the acquisition of critical security equipment such as patrol vessels and police vehicles, the recruitment and training of more police officers, and the build-out of the Jamaica Defense Force. Your government is investing in your safety. We are building Jamaica.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Welcome to Get the Facts, the program that provides you with information on government's policies and initiatives. I'm Theodore Henry. We often say, eat until your heart's content. But for many of us, that phrase has taken on a whole new meaning with the unhealthy food choices we make every single day. Since February is Heart Month, we're focusing on how the food we eat impacts our heart health and much more. Joining us to share valuable insights is Rosanna Pike, Advocacy Officer for the Global Health Advocacy Project at the Heart Foundation of Jamaica. Welcome to the program, Ms. Pike.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Let's jump into getting some facts.
Sure.
So, there's a month for almost everything.
Right.
But there's a Heart Month. Why is that so important?
I mean, so Heart Month, as you introduced to our viewers earlier, it's recognized globally in February every year. And what happens is that it provides us an opportunity to increase the public's awareness of heart disease and their understanding of it. And of course, to remember those who lost their lives to heart disease. And lastly, but most importantly, it gives us that opportunity to show appreciation to that, you know, central, most vital organ to life, right?
The heart. So, is heart disease a big deal in Jamaica?
Of course it is. I mean, the statistics all around show that, you know, that it is a cause for concern because in Jamaica and the Caribbean, heart diseases account for 4 of 5 of the leading causes of death.
4 or 5?
4 out of 5.
So it is the leading cause?
Right.
Wow. Interesting. Okay, so this is now taking on a whole heavier meaning now.
It does.
If it's the leading cause, 4 out of 5, then help us get some facts here. What are the risk causes? Like what causes heart disease? Who is most at risk? That sort of thing.
All right, sure. So on one hand, you have those factors that are non-modifiable, and then those who are modifiable. So on the non-modifiable hand, you have your age. So persons who are 50 and older, they are more susceptible. And of course, your gender. Men are more likely to develop cardiovascular diseases or your heart diseases than women can. And on the other end of the spectrum, of course, if you are an avid alcohol drinker, or if you smoke, those are risk factors. If you have an unhealthy diet that is, you know, laden with ultra-processed products or foods high in fat, salt, and sugar, that is a risk factor. If you're overweight or obese, if you have high blood pressure and high cholesterol as well, those are risk factors because, of course, those two conditions, they affect the heart's ability to efficiently or effectively pump blood to other organs.
Is it a strain issue, or it's because of the diet and the lack of
so it's really both. So I mean, the high cholesterol, I mean, excess fat in the body, and it can lead to what you call atherosclerosis, or a buildup of fat in the blood vessels. So of course, right. So when the heart is trying to pump blood through, there's a strain to get the blood through to supply the other organs, and then of course it leads to what you call the stroke and all those other heart diseases.
I love how you're connecting it to things that we're very familiar with. Everybody know about stroke and this, but we don't necessarily look at the pathway to it.
Right.
So I can't do anything about being a male, but I can do something about smoking, diet. Okay, so we're having Heart Month, and the theme, if I have it correct here, is Love Your Heart, Eat Smart.
Right.
All right, so tell me some more about the Heart Month.
All right, so Love Your Heart, Eat Smart, maintaining, you know, healthy diet for a healthy heart. It's a spin-off that we created at the Heart Foundation of Jamaica to the American Heart Association's theme, which is Show Your Heart Some Love. And what we want to do is just to implore Jamaicans. It's a call to action to say, hey, you know, prioritize heart health by making more informed or healthier dietary choices and take proactive steps to maintain a healthy heart, right? So that's really what we're trying to do with that theme.
It just hit me that you guys will have Valentine's Day as well, so that'll
that'll
have a whole different meaning there. All right, so here's one for you. Many people believe that, okay, I do 10,000 steps. I go to the gym. Not to cut down going to the gym, but because I do these things, I can eat whatever I want.
Oh, I like that.
Is that true?
I like that you're touching on this because there is this popular quote that says you can't out-train a bad diet or you can't outrun a bad diet. And let me try to break it down as simple as possible for our viewers. So, I mean, those of you who did chemistry, you know that a chemical equation has to be balanced. One side can't be greater than the other, or a seesaw. If, you know, what we need to recognize that weight management is fundamentally about balancing the amount of calories that you're consuming or eating with the amount of calories that you are expending or burning.
Right.
So if it's a case that you're eating more than you burn, you're going to gain weight regardless of how much exercise you're doing or how strict your exercise regimen is.
So hold on. That adage that I'm hearing around the place these days is that weight loss happens in the kitchen. Muscle building happens in the gym. Okay.
Right, so
yes.
it is a balance thing. And I like to add to it to say input equal output. So what you put in your body is what your body is going to put out. So guess what? If you feed your body poorly, then ultimately those, if you're feeding it with those ultra-processed, products, fast foods and all of that, it's going to have those detrimental impacts on your health. And what's going to happen? Your body's going to perform poorly. So we want to keep that in mind.
Balance the equation, exercise,
and diet, right.
All right, we're going to go to a break, but please stay with us because we'll be right back. We're dealing with matters of the heart.
Know your numbers and control the keys to a healthier heart. Know the numbers for your blood pressure, cholesterol level, blood glucose level, and your weight and body mass index. Find out the risks they represent and what you need to do to stay healthy. Talk to your doctor and start making healthy lifestyle choices to prevent a heart attack or stroke.
Welcome back to Get the Facts. We are discussing Heart Month and, more importantly, heart health with Rosanna Pike, Advocacy Officer for the Global Health Advocacy Project at the Heart Foundation of Jamaica. Lady Pike, we've been talking about ultra-processed foods, right? Another adage that I keep hearing about the place these days, especially in the health-conscious circles, are eat real food. So let's get the facts and not generalize anymore.
All right.
What do you consider ultra-processed foods?
So ultra-processed foods, just think of it that they are foods that have been altered from their natural state. So in a sense, they go through some processing, some procedure to change it from its natural state or raw state to what it is now. So it has a whole lot of additives, preservatives, and all of that. So for example, your canned meats, those are maybe considered as ultra-processed because, of course, you get it from the animal and then it goes through some processing state within a factory, so some things are added and some things are taken out and then put in a container or packaging for the shelf, right? So those are ultra processed. So you can peas, you can beans, those sweet and salty snacks like your chips and your biscuits or your cookies, those are considered ultra processed products as well. I mean, even things sometimes as your cheese, can be ultra processed. So we have to be mindful of those.
And real food then would be?
Real food, I mean, if you have your own chicken coop, those chicken that you know that are farm raised, that are organic, those are real. I mean, the fruits and vegetables that you are able to pick, right, reap from the soil, you have grown provisions, those are natural foods.
Yeah.
So they have not gone through any form of processing.
And you're saying we need more of that in our diet?
We need more of that in our diet because right now the Jamaican diet, studies have shown it that we have deviated from eating how our forefathers taught us to. And I mean, we have to say with the transition in, the economy, trade, and then of course people find it hard to maintain a healthy lifestyle because I mean, you go to work, work your 9 to 5, sit in the traffic to come home and say, hey, the time to prepare a healthy meal with, raw products, it can be challenging, but we still need to make the effort to do that.
So convenience is one thing. That's where we get the snacks and the canned stuff. But what about price as well? A lot of people might say, I can't afford to eat healthy.
I mean, that is one of the biggest concerns we hear when we go out there and we're interacting with the general public. And of course, we can't deny that. I mean, with food security, you have to look at affordability, accessibility, and availability, but at the same time make do with what you have, because even if what you can afford are the canned or packaged products, you can actually turn them into something a bit more heart healthy. So if I can give some example. I mean, if you have your canned peas and beans, you want to make your rice and peas, open the can, pour the beans in a strainer under your sink, your running water, And you're straining because what you're doing, you're minimizing, you know, all those preservatives or additives,
Oh, in the
right?
fluid.
Right, the fluid. And then, I mean, you can't afford the whole wheat flour. You have your white flour. I mean, turn your hand, make fashion. Grate out your carrot, some shredded coconut, or even your oatmeal. I mean, some of this might sound new to persons, but don't knock it till you try it. And what you're doing there is that you're enriching the processed white flour and adding nutrients that might have been lost during the processing.
Got it.
Right.
Got it. Oh, wow. I think we might need a program just on that one. But, okay, talk to me about some of the key nutrients that support and enhance heart health.
All right, sure. So a heart-healthy meal plan starts with, of course, as we said, your raw food. So eat more of your fruits and your vegetables. So your dark green leafy vegetables, so your callaloo, your spinach if you can afford, your broccoli, your cabbage, your fruits. I mean, I don't have to name them because in Jamaica we have them in abundance. But moderation is key because people like to say, oh, it's fruits I can eat a whole lot. But remember, they have naturally occurring sugars. It's sugar nonetheless. And if the body cannot metabolize or use up all of it, it's going to store the excess as fat. Your protein-rich foods are good, so your food from animals, so your egg, your low-fat dairy like your milk and your cheese, your chicken breast, your turkey, your lean beef, those are good as well. And your fish that are rich in omega-3 fatty acids like your salmon, your tuna, your trout. You can have your sardines as well. So those are some of the key nutrients and foods that you can have.
You didn't say it, but I know you mean it. We should read labels, don't we?
Yes, we should, especially when it comes to those ultra-processed products. And the rule of thumb, when you get to the nutrition facts panel that tells you how much calories, servings, etc., when you see saturated fats, cholesterol, sugar, all of those, sodium, you look for smaller numbers. And the rule of thumb is 5% or less is low, which is good. 20% or more is high. You want the bigger numbers for the fiber, the protein, the vitamins, and the minerals. When it comes to all the nutrients of concern, go for the smaller figure.
Got it. We're in the tail end of this interview. Let's talk about screening.
Sure.
You know, knowing your risk. So we know the unchangeable risk factors.
That's right.
And then you have the lifestyle risk factors. But screening, what role does that play in?
So screening actually provides that framework of where you stand, like gives you a picture of, you know, where you stand. So there are 4 health numbers we always implore Jamaicans to know. When we hear, we say, oh, know your numbers. So your body mass index, your blood pressure, your blood cholesterol, and your blood sugar levels. And once you know all 4 numbers, you kind of have an idea of where your health stands. And your doctor or your medical care provider can work with you to create a plan to meet your goals or where you need to be. Right, so remember those 4 health numbers, and we implore Jamaicans to do that at least twice for the year. I would say every quarter you try to do it, but at least 2 times for the year, so you actually know. And once you know those, we can say, all right, something is off with this one, then there might be a condition.
And let me take a stab in the dark here. The older you get, is the more attention you should pay
to your numbers. Exactly.
All right. So the last 10 seconds. Heart Month. What do you guys have planned?
All right, so at the Heart Foundation of Jamaica, remember we are a one-stop shop. So check out our, you know, social media pages to see if we'll be at a plaza close to you that you can come, take advantage of our screening special so you can know, get information on how to eat right while, you know, living actively. And of course, we have a medical symposium for our medical professionals and students on the 26th of February at 5 p.m.
At 5 p.m. And all of this is coming together in the month of February to help you, to help me make healthier life choices as individuals for the quality of life and length of life as well. This has been Get the Facts. So our guest was Rosanna Pike, Advocacy Officer for the Global Health Advocacy Project at the Heart Foundation of Jamaica. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm Theodore Henry. Take care.
We want a peace for Jamaica. Yeah, yeah. We have to be our brother's keeper. Yeah, yeah. Jamaica live good, yeah. I make we enjoy life. What we feel safe at night. Jamaica live good. I better you and I. No say we future bright. Jamaica live good. Come together as one. I make the violence the world. We are the youths united against corruption, changing the world and the way we function. The youths united against corruption, changing the world and the way we function. You remember the youth are with future leaders, policy creators, decision makers. As if them are not just the cornerstone, but a crucial part to a better tomorrow. United against corruption, changing the world and the way we function. The youth united against corruption.
A message from the Integrity Commission.
Once upon a time in a Caribbean island known for its rich culture, natural beauty, lived a group of people who were buried in piles and piles and more piles of paper. Papers spanning back to the start of time. Then came a bright idea, harnessing technology to work smarter and not harder. The government of Jamaica is improving its operations to serve citizens better. Many services are now available online, and there's more to come. The government of Jamaica, building a better public sector for all.
Our Father, how excellent is thy name. Greater than all your works, greatly to be praised. These days can be so demanding. I don't wanna lean upon my own misunderstanding. So all that I ask is for you to be mindful of me. When I consider your hands, they bring about the rain and stars. All that I ask is for you to be mindful of me. When I consider your hands, they bring forth the stars. Remember me, remember me. Me know a whole heap of people I pray. Remember me, remember me, remember me. I know you got a lot on your hands. Remember me. Our Father, how excellent is thy name. Greater than all your works, and greatly to be praised. These days can be so demanding. I don't wanna lean upon my own misunderstandings. So all that I ask is for you to be mindful of me. When I consider your hands, they bring forth the rain and stars. All that I ask is for you to be mindful of me. When I consider your hands, they bring forth the stars. Remember me, remember me. Me know I won't leave but people I pray. Remember me, remember me, Jaja. Ooh, remember me. I know you got a lot on your hands. Remember me. Oh, oh. See that? Oh. Remember me. Yeah, I want you to remember me. I want you to remember when I say to you. No, listen to that part. Remember me. Me, I tell you, say, not got things rough today. Tomorrow, have a nice. There's always a blessing on you. Remember that, yeah? These did I do? Ooh, yeah. Zoom in on the nutrition facts. It there in the table on the side or the back. If you check out the servings, just do the maths. Not taking too much, finger build up the facts. Zoom in on the nutrition facts. It there in the table on the side or the back. Take note of the sodium, the sugars and the fats by percent. Unless you're on the right track. You for zoom in on the nutrition facts. It there in the table on the side or the back. Vitamins, minerals and vitamin 2, 20% and more that good for you. Nutrition facts. You feel zoom in. Check the nutrition facts. You feel zoom in. Check the nutrition facts. Less sugar, less salt intake, and less fat. You feel zoom in.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, Jamaica Moves, the Heart Foundation of Jamaica, the National Health Fund, and Japan.
What a flow, what a flow. What a flow. Come on. What a flow, what a flow. What a flow, what a flow. The water put it just like a freestyle. The life blood flowing mile by mile. It's legacy, a beat that don't stop like Bob Marley say. One love on top. The sewage water out of sight, but it's always wrong, don't lose the light. And well so big, cause mangoes and fish they weep. Green water for the garden, keep it green. Save the cash and the earth gets clean. We used to mind, it's out of sight but never far behind. In nature, the answers always flow. Like water running pure, the cycle grows. It renews itself, same drop, same beat. It's all good, man, you got the heat. Water flow, water flow. Water, no pipes they grow. Protect our water, protect our future.
Time to go.
Once upon a time in a Caribbean island known for its rich culture, natural beauty, lived a group of people who were buried in piles and piles and more piles of paper. Papers spanning back to the start of time. Then came a bright idea, harnessing technology to work smarter and not harder. The government of Jamaica is improving its operations to serve citizens better. Many services are now available online, and there's more to come. The government of Jamaica, building a better public sector for all.
Attitude is something which productivity will require, and a good attitude. So these are conversations which are difficult, because how do you instill a good attitude? It starts by the kinds of activities that you engage your children in at an early age. What are we teaching our children even in our own homes? How do they see us reacting to challenges? How do they hear us addressing issues? That's what's going to shape their attitude and their mindset.
A glass of fresh orange juice, some biscuits, little piece of cheese, and when it's ready, bring it to the dining table, please. Thank you. Look at my condition. Can barely walk. And I have to visit you.
Mama, I'm busy.
Busy avoiding me. I'm not surprised. After your deplorable behavior at your father's funeral.
How did I behave?
Don't play the innocent with me. Your behavior was unpardonable. I nearly washed away the cane for you with your crocodile tears.
I missed him.
Don't miss the dead. Especially when you weren't kind to them when they were living.
I love my father.
Then why did you bring that girl to his funeral? Eh? You don't think the dead know? You have a wife, Peter. Where is she? Why wasn't she there with you? Where is she? It didn't dawn on you that people would talk? Or don't you care? That pigeon-eyed surgeon girl purr, choke like a cat in your arms, wiping tears from your eyes. What is it you want? I suppose you're going to tell me now you love her, do you? Don't answer me. The only person you're supposed to love is me, your mother. Jenny is a good woman, the right woman for you. That is why I approve of her above all the rest.
I don't love her.
You don't have to. Not even supposed to. You try remember that our father still have property. Now you tell me what the Surges have. You already have Little Neck. So what else is there beside the little old wooden house? Surgery girl going to drag you down to our own level. You seem to forget that your father's mother was pure German stock from Germantown. When your father was courting me, she raised all kind of dickens, all kind of objection. And I just laugh because, like it or not, she had to respect me. Why? Because I had what she